making another video here today. And we're just gonna go back into the Crawley history. I was watching Kirmo. I got this book from him, but it's a real book. America, the background of Columbus, being a survey of the revelations of science with respect to the Western Hemisphere and its peoples, before its unveiling by Columbus, by Jennings C. Weiss. And this book is going to show you, I'm going to show you, there's a lot of stuff that, I was talking about T. Teffy, Prince Aramon, Jeremiah, them traveling to Ireland, and we are descendants of those same people. Tamar Teffy, T. Teffy, same person. So we're gonna get into this. So we're gonna go on. This is page 237. I'm gonna start from the top. Therefore, although Lao Ti was meeting with great success in China, the teachings of Salon, Jeremiah, Ezekiel appealed to but a few, knowing it was useless as well as unsafe for the heirs of David to remain in Palestine. So which Palestine are they talking about? The one in America. Palestine is going to be around Utah, Judah, Nevada, New Mexico area, California. It's going to be in that area. And they said, knowing is useless as well as unsafe for the heirs of David to remain in Palestine after rescuing the sacred national treasure from the temple, including the stone of Israel, which is the Leophel, or the stone of Jacob, said to have been bequeathed to the care of Joseph by Abraham. He left the captives in Babylonia to the ministrations of the fury Ezekiel and proceeded with his wards to Iberia, which is Spain. And the Crawleys, Prince Aramon, William the Conqueror, Meletius, they all come from Spain. They're Iberian, which is still Hebrew. It's still tribe of Zarah. And it's going to say that in a few minutes. So accordingly, from the old Spanish record, it appears that two eastern princesses, accompanied by an ancient prophet and Bing, his scribe, Baruch, bearing with them a sacred stone, a box, which may have been the ark, and a golden banner, arrived on the shores of Iberia or Spain. Here the younger princess appears to have married the ruler of Zaragoza, the Hebraic colony of Saragossa. The purpose of Jeremiah in marrying off one of the heiresses of David to an Iberian is plain. He meant to establish Israel as at the Pillar of Hercules, so that the Zaragozans and Phoenician Israelites of Cadiz, and I was talking about Pedro Alonso Crawley, there is a symbol, our coat of arms is on a house in Cadiz, which is not the real Cadiz, but it's symbolic. They're telling you these Crawleys were always in Iberia. They were in Spain. There's records of that everywhere. So regardless, where we can trace this line, we can trace the line from Britain to Scotland, or Ireland, or we can say Aaron, the land of Aaron, which because it's the Chaldeans, same people, and they all come from Zarah side. Esau is the Egyptian side, and you got the tribe of Judah going down Pharez line. T. Teffy, her descendants are the Pharez line, which King Zedekiah, lost all of his sons. T. Teffy, they married their daughters into the line of Zarah. And it says that the Israelites of Cadiz might both be beyond the control of Rome, Carthage, and Marseille, or whatever the fuck that is. Just as might have been expected by him, Iberia became an asylum for all that was best in Israel. But the old prophet also knew the strategic importance to Israel of Aaron, which is Ireland, Britain, and Scandinavia. Therefore, with Baruch and Tamar Teffy, the older princess of Judah, he proceeded northward from Balboa, with the alleged intention of extending his mission to the Scandinavian Israelites in Dansmark. So the tribe of Dansmark or Denmark. A shipwreck, we are told, cast them upon the north coast of Ulster and Aaron, over which Eochid, a prince of Judah, So Eochaid Mugmedon, or Malatius, or William the Conqueror, is a prince of Judah, and our descendants go down to that line. Because I've already explained in part 1, 2, and 3, and 4 that we are descendants of Eochaid Mugmedon, and he is a prince of Judah, which is the line of Zarah, or the line of Zarah. Recently had been elected Bermeo, crowned horseman of the whole island, and was awaiting his coronation when he met the voyagers. Recently had been elected Bermeo, crowned horseman of the whole island, and was awaiting his coronation when he had met the voyagers. At once he fell in love with Tamar Tefi, and was quickly married to her, whereupon they were crowned, standing on the Leophel, the stone of destiny. Therefore, the story of the shipwreck may be discarded. The story also has it that the unhappily Queen Tefi did not long survive her marriage, and that the grief-stricken king of Ireland erected over her remains the mounds today known to the Hebrews as the Great Mergech, and to the Iri, or the Erin, as the Hill of Tara, where every succeeding king of Ireland is said to have been crowned, down to the reign of Fergus I. Of this mystical relic, Dean Stanley wrote, "It is the one primeval monument which binds together the whole empire." As the more learned Hebrews understood the word empire here employed, it implied the universal Israel, of which Jeremiah had uttered the prophecy. His reference to the pyramids of Egypt and the Sphinx as the witnesses of the future leaves no doubt that he was entirely familiar with their history. So Jeremiah knew about this stuff. These people knew that it was an empire. It wasn't just nations, these people knew who they were. They knew exactly where they came from. And Israel, or Judah, the line of Judah, established a lot of these nations. They also built majority of all these so-called European nations. So regardless if you're going to Europe, you can trace the line back to America, because America is the Holy Land, is the old world. So say the Crawleys come, or say they built those nations over in Ireland or Erie, right? They still are American Indians because their ancestors come from America. They're not Europeans, they're American Indians. Now, the biggest question is, what tribe do they come from? I've tried to say they're the Lenape, the Delaware, the ancient ones, the grandfather tribe, and they could be, or they could be the Iroquois, which in this book makes a very good story. There's a story in the Iroquois language, and there's a book called The Romans of the West, and they're talking about the Iroquois, and they always wore the mohawks and stuff like that to stay. If you look at any of the Romans, you see their headgear they're wearing. It's always a style of a mohawk, and the Mohawk Indians are Iroquois, and they wore those mohawks as, maybe symbology, And I'm going to go to that part right now. Just give me 1 second. All right, so I'm going to read this part first. It's page 213, the Phoenicians, the Gadelics of Ireland. We're going to start right here. It says, the stepping stones from China to the Golden Gate of Queen Khalifa, in whose realm appear countless places similar to those in China. Now, I have a map that shows China and America, because the ancient name of China is Cathay, or Cathay. And Queen Khalifa, if you go to the Californian, it's a symbol of the state of California. Queen Khalifa is a black woman, or a swarthy woman, or an American Indian woman whose lineage goes to the Amazon warriors, which are Greek. And the Greeks were created by Chalcol, Dardanus, Troy. I think Troy was Rome, but still, I'm pretty sure Chalcol created the Greeks, or the Greek tribes, and they still go back to Judah, because the scepter shall not depart from Judah. And concurrently, at the other side of the world, important events also took place. In the Mosaic Israel of the Isles included the descendants of the eponymous Zarah, among whom were the Gadelics of Ireland, represented in the genealogical tree of Israel by Gadol. The oldest petroglyph in northern Europe still to be seen at the ancient shrine of Clonfinloch in County Islay. Isis, the son and father, shows that migrants arrived there from across the Bay of Biscay, referring to those Mediterraneans who now mingled their blood with the Tuatha De Danann, or the Danites. A great English scholar wrote, after the old way of inventing persons to explain the names of the tribes, the name Gadol was derived. I don't have that rest of that part, but okay, so we're going to go over this though. So he said, referring to these Mediterraneans who now mingled their blood with the Tuatha De Danann. What Mediterranean is he talking about? He's talking about the Gulf of California or the Red Sea. If you go, because they're going to talk about South Africa, right? It's going to be South America, because I have a map that shows Ethiopia. You can look it up too. It says, go look up Ethiopia, South American map. And it'll show black figures in Ethiopia, or it's going to show South America as Ethiopia. So we say that South Africa would be in South America. So if you go over the Cape of Good Hope, which is the Cape of South America, and go over the Cape of South America and go up, we're gonna reach the Red Sea or the Mediterranean, or the Gulf of Mexico, the Mediterranean. You got the Red Sea, all in the same area, all in America. Great English scholar wrote, after the old ways of inventing persons to explain the names of the tribes, the name Gadel was derived by the ancient Irish clergy from Gadel or Gadelis, who lived in the time of Moses. His father, Nial, had married a daughter of the Pharaoh, who in pursuit of the Israelites was drowned in the Red Sea, the Gulf of California, and called her Scotia, because he himself was a Scythian, or Scythians, sons of Isaac, Sakae, the Anglo-Saxons, or Saxons, sons of Isaac. Their son was said to have been called Gadol, as a lover of learning, from Gaorth, which is an Irish learning, and Dil, which is an Irish love. Here is the perfect illustration of how little Elizabethan scholars understood the history of the past. So they didn't really understand the history of the past. They knew what they were talking about, though. Like, these people knew what they were talking about. To repeat, no pharaoh lost his life pursuing the Israelites, except in the sense that the power of Sesostris ultimately was broken by the enemies of Egypt. In the second place, the Gaelic Nial, remember, Nial of the 9 hostages. We talked about that in part 4. Nial of the 9 hostages. The son of Eochaid Mubedan. Like, come on, think about it. The son of Eochaid Mubedan, or Nial of the 9 hostages. If you look, Nial is said to have got his lineage from the Egyptians as well. And I'm pretty sure that I'm showing you that the O'Neills, or the Nials, or Neol, come from Egypt, which Egypt is in America. Memphis, Tennessee is the ancient city of Memphis, Egypt. Egypt is down on the Mississippi River. You got Cairo, Illinois. You got Memphis. It's all on the Mississippi River. And there used to be tons of pyramids there, and there probably is tons of pyramids there. They're just buried under the dirt. And so I'm telling you, these people were always swarthy. They were dark skinned. And they're gonna tell you that the Gaelic Nial, corresponding to the Latin Nilu, implies dark, because these migrants came from Egypt, where in fact the Scythians had long been intermarrying with the Egyptians. So remember, I just told you Nial, right? Nial, the 9 hostages. You got Eochaid Mubedan. He is a prince of Judah. Intermarried the Scythians. They're sons of Isaac. Sons of Isaac are still princes of Judah, because they're sons of Isaac. I mean, well, depends on which lineage you go from, but where in fact the Scythians had long been intermarrying with the Egyptians, the Israelitic Gadils were a relatively small, dark people upon whom, with the larger red-haired Tuatha De Dananns looked as inferiors. So the Israeli Gadils were relatively small, dark people, upon with the larger red-haired Tuatha De Dananns looked as inferiors. The time when these Israelitic ancestors of the Gaels arrived in Ireland is indicated by the history of Cadiz. So remember, I was talking to you guys about Cadiz. There's Crawleys there in Cadiz. And the Serpent Fort, right? The Serpent Fort. They're gonna give you coordinates to this Serpent Fort. It's 3630 north, 6 degrees west, in the ancient Atlantean realm of Gadirius. Now, if you look up Atlantis in America, they're going to show you maps of America being called Atlantis. So the Atlantean realm of Gadirius, marking the exact latitude of Utica, Sicily, the Peloponnese of Greece, Rhodes, Antioch, Nineveh, and the Treaty of Karakorum. Cadiz also marks the meridian of Seville, the Sicily Islands, the Paran Round lands on Land's End, in ancient Cornwall, Belfast, the island of Skye, and the Faroe Islands, and was occupied by the Phoenicians, or the people of the sea, in 1100 BC, because the people of the sea, the Danites, are the Phoenicians. Since geology shows the two small islands shutting in the ancient Atlantean port of Cadiz was part of Atlantis, it is useless to imagine the Phoenicians descendants of Pelagasi, who, as shown by the Odyssey, had visited Calypso. If you watch Pirates of the Caribbean, think about it for a second. Pirates of the Caribbean, Calypso, all the way, she always there. And it's in the Caribbean islands. And you look at Jack Sparrow, he always got braids. You know, a lot of these people look at braids. They giving it away. And look what Calypso looks like in the movie. She's a black woman. And who are not familiar with the history of the past and the sea route to America from Portugal. About the time the Phoenicians occupied Cadiz, the eponymous Brutus, the descendant of the biblical Darda and of the mythical Hector of Troy, established himself as the king of the British Cymrics at London, where the mystical King Lud has built his fort. So the Phoenicians, or the Tuatha De Danann, occupied Cadiz, right? The eponymous Brutus, the descendant of the biblical Dardanus and the mythical Hector of Troy. They're going to call him mythical, but Dardanus was a real person. He was a real person. He was a biblical character. The lineage is right there. And these Hebrews established these cities. They established Spain. These Indians established Cadiz. The Indians were the mythical ancestors of Troy, or the real ancestors of Troy, and established himself as King Brutus of the British Cymri. Who are the Cymri? At London, where the mythical King Lud has built his fort. So I'm gonna show you guys this family tree. I'm gonna show you when I'm talking about Dardanus, Chalco. You got Lud, King Lud. I'm gonna show you this stuff. So again, here's the family tree, right? So here's Esau. You got Isaac, Jacob, Judah. The sons of Isaac, there's Esau, Jacob, Ishmael. Yeah. But down here it says Esau, Eliphaz, Amalek, Thardan, Walid, Rian, Derem. And then you look at these, it says or Seti the first, or Ramses the second, or Meneptah. And look at all these on Esau's line. These are all Egyptian. Now we go to Judah, or Zarah. You see Chalco, or Chalco. There is Gedol, the Gedalecs. And then there's Dardanus. You got He-Man, Master of the Universe, guys. Y'all watch that. They tell you that. But they all descend from Judah. And they're on Zarah's line. So Zaragoza, Spain, it's in Iberia. You know, they all descend from Hebrews. So the Hebrews, or the Indians, created those places, or the American Indians. And we, the Crawleys, helped create Zaragoza. We helped create Spain. We helped create Ireland. We helped create a lot of these places. And they want to take that history away from us and act like we didn't have a history. We were just slavery. We were in slavery all of our lives. All of our ancestors were enslaved. They don't give us a history. Then they want to say that the Crawley name, we got it from the white man. But I just showed you that the people they're describing in the book, they're describing as dark figures or dark-skinned people. So you can't break history. They'll tell you that they're going to tell you the truth, regardless of how your feelings are. And it doesn't matter if it's how your feelings feel. It's all about the truth. Therefore, it is useless to try to understand that what followed the futile attempts of Moses to overthrow the golden calf of Israel by looking to the Old Testament alone. To be sure, the people of the sea, or the Phoenicians, or the tribe of Dan, had reduced the Pharaoh to a mere ghost, or that reduced Esau to a mere ghost of the world emperor Sesostris. But soon, even Judah, the scepter tribe of Israel, so the scepter shall not depart from Judah, the throne will never depart from Judah. We're talking about these nations that were established, the scepter will never depart from those nations. So black people, if they wake up to who they truly are, the scepter will never depart from you because you remember who you are. The throne will never depart from you because you are the ones that sit on the throne of David, of Israel. And I said, these people, these nations were created by us, those titles that they're holding belong to us. And the Levites, to whom the philosophical ark of Mosaicism was entrusted, and the fall had fallen victim to the golden calf against which the Hebraic prophets were to rail in vain from the time of Elijah and Elisha to the appearance of John, Prester John, priest king, the precursor. Consequently, we must look elsewhere than the Pentateuch, the Septuagint, the Vulgate, and the Bible. Therefore, constitute the Ark of Noah the symbol not alone of spiritual salvation. The Freemasons from the time of Solomon were a power, although hidden like the true cross and the Sphinx, the one in the footprint on Adam's Peak, the Colossi of Bamian, the cube of Nippus. Therefore, they can no more be ignored by the historian, the priesthoods of the various religions, and the temporal rulers who adopted in the regalia and banners the Masonic symbols and emblems. So the Freemasons, or the original Freemasons, they weren't called Freemasons. They had different names. The conquerors, or they called them Freemasons. Because Freemasonry, if you look at Freemasons or Masonry, they always use brick buildings. If you look at Tartaria, it's all brick. And who built those? The people of Judah. With the Israelites in possession of Iberia, Spain, Britain, and Ireland. So they're telling you the Israelites, or the Hebrews, or the Crawleys were in possession of Iberia, Britain, and Ireland, where the Freemasons merely to repeat the role of. Time of Solomon, it was taboo under the unwritten law of the various priests was in the old world, the Americas, to refer to what lay at the antipodes. So Patala of Helluland became the Hebraic Kel, peopled by the Red Devils. Who were the Red Devils? The Red people. Who were the Red people? And Greece, Erebus, originally merely implying the realm in the west. Remember, in Greece, Erebus, originally merely implying the realm in the West Indies, where the sun went to sleep, to which the name Europa traces. So, originally merely implying the realm in the West Indies, where the sun went to sleep, to which the name Europa traces. So Europe traces itself all the way back to where? The realm in the West, America. Became confused with the nether realm of Hades, to which Hercules, the warrior of Zeus, had been sent to recover the three-headed dog Cerberus cast by Zeus into Hades. In the Greek myth, we find the evidence that it was from the vanished realm of Is that the mysteries of the Kabiri, or the Caribbeans, had been transmitted to the Ionians by their Semitic forebears, the people of Shem. Restrictions upon liberty to loot a helpless people were one thing, but human nature was another. Just as there were pirates, the robbers of the sea, among the Norse Pirati, so they were among the Israelites. Therefore, the restrictions imposed by Solomon to protect his 10,000 wives, representing the many people within the Masonic guardianship, were not welcome to those over whom Judah, as the scepter tribe, Israel had come to rule. Accordingly, hardly had Solomon's cycle expired when the 10 tribes succeeded or ceded from the kingdom of David and established the kingdom of Israel and Samaria under its own ruler. The descendants of the Hittites who had united with the original Hebrews of Judah under Abraham did not mean to be ruled by the mixed Hebraic ancestors of the Jews who had alliance with the Arabians, group the Oneida, and the other Anaganda, the first implying those who set up the stone, and the other name bearers. The first name had a reference to the great Sinite boulder at Oneida Castle in northern New York, near the headquarters of the Susquehanna. Did they recognize in the 12 lakes beginning with Anaganda extending to the Genesee, on which the 5 larger ones resemble the fingers of a human hand, a natural symbol of the 12 gods of the Olympian pantheon, or the 12 tribes? So they're telling you these Anagandas, these Indians, America, Europa, all go back to America first for this information. So the Oneida Castle in northern New York, near the headquarters of the Susquehanna, did they recognize in the 12 lakes, beginning with the Anaganda extending to the Genesee, of which the 5 larger ones resemble the fingers of a human hand, a natural symbol of the 12 gods of the Olympian pantheon. Whatever the fact, the symbol of the Oneida was the tree, so that in the boulder is to be seen as the pillar of the tree cult, extending among the Pythians, calling themselves Angawan Sioni, we of the extended lodge, and giving to the Shatamu, ghost of the mother Mu. The name Tasawanishina or Taswasintha. They first extended their lodge by adopting the alien, dark Mohawks of the region. Whose traditions indicate once they had occupied Montreal. Therefore, they provided themselves with the sword of self-defense. So these people, they're the ghost of the Mother Mu, the Anagandas, like the Mohawks, the alien dark Mohawks. Now, hold up. So came salt beds in the region of the Genesee. It was entirely possible to safeguard the red race as a whole. So the swarthy people they're talking about. In all probability, it was now that the 2 brothers constituting the original Iroquois moved up the St. Lawrence and possessed themselves at the indispensable salt beds around the Syracuse in the strategic position of northern New York, having occupied the region of Shatamu, Hudson, and the Adirondack to Niagara. They appear to have been halted by the Algonquin Chippewa, Potawatomi, Erie, Wye, Miami, and other groups. The Chippewa called one group the Oneida or Oneida, and the other Onondaga, the first implying those who set up the stone, or the other name bearers. Now, think about it. Those who set up the stone. Stone of Destiny, the Leophale. Remember, I was telling you guys this, and now they're telling you the 2 brothers, right? These 2 brothers constituting the Iroquois, so Zarah and Perez, right? The line they're talking about, guys, it's all in American Indian history, and it's part of the Iroquois, all right? And these Crawleys is looking like they coming from the Iroquois. So I said the Lenape, I said the grandfather tribe in my last video. I was wrong, always about extending knowledge and information. So even then, I could be wrong here. We might find more information that I could be wrong on, but it's all about learning. It's all about awakening up. But this is the truth. So remember those who set up the stone, so the Leophale, right? The ones that sat on the throne of the Judah, Spain, Iberia, Britain, the people that set up the stone, the Iroquois. And the name bearers, remember? The name bearers, O'Crawley, if you go to the there are those names, the Gadelic names, or, like the Crawleys, they're the name bearers, or the clan bearers, right? Or the family, the great clans, right? But thereby they provided themselves with the sword of self-defense. So came into being the 3 brothers of whom the fierce Mohawks, notably darker and more savage, the Oneida and the Onondaga, were designated by the early French as inferiors, because they were pure native stock, doubtless akin to the Mohawks of Oregon and Sion Manahawks of Virginia. and they give you a reference, tree and pillar worship in Mediterranean relations. So we worship trees, we worship nature, guys. We worshipped Hawa, the Great Mother, Ewa, Hawa. If you watch Avatar, if you played the video game, if you go to the song they sing in like the first scene, just go look up the first scene in Avatar, the video game. Listen to what she's saying. Listen to what she's singing. Hawa. She's saying that, because that's their god. Or Ewa is their god. Or nature, Mother Earth is their god. That's what they used to worship. The Druids used to worship nature, the serpent mounds or the serpent fort. Thus, when the three brothers assembled in council, they seated themselves in a circle around a vestal fire, just as in the case of the Druids, taking precedence in all things. The Oneida sat at the north, while the Onagana sat at the south, and the Mohawks at the east. The Onagandas boasted 9 clans: the wolf, tortoise, bear, deer, eel, beaver, ball, snipe, and pigeon hawk. Of them, 3 had 3 chiefs, 5 2, and 1 a single chief in the federal council. The Oneidas and Mohawks, however, both had only 3 clans: the turtle, wolf, and bear, each with 3 chiefs. Thus the Oneidas had 17, while the Onaganas and Mohawks had 18 representatives at the fire. Such was the beginning of the Republican League to enforce peace, which eventually evolved into 6 nations constituting the Haudenosaunee, to which the American Republic has been traced. So a republic. We're a republic, guys. Like, where they were a republic, they had nations already here, guys. So these nations that you see, they're talking about Rome, Syracuse. If there's Syracuse, like, Syracuse is Roman. Go up to Syracuse, New York. Pretty sure Syracuse is New York, but it's all Rome. If you even go to, I'm pretty sure there's a Rome, New York around that area. So yeah. Nor does the cult of Nanabozha or Jamum common to the Algonquins and the Iroquois, obviously a mixture of the serpent cult, the tree cult, and the primitive Christianity of the North Christians, fail to suggest the influence of the Itzaes. So the serpent cult, the tree cult, serpent on the mound, the serpent mounds, the trees, because they worship the giant trees and stuff like that. So it says, while it is useless to dogmatize with respect to the exact time when the 2 brothers sat at the pillar at Oneida Castle by 740 BC, the prophecies of Isaiah had begun. Well, might be the great teacher rant and rave, already the barbarous Moloch, enshrined by the degraded eunuchs of Carthage, had appeared in Jerusalem, where during the next century children continued to be fed to the fury maw of this idol. Now, too, the golden calf was as much as revered by the scepter tribe of Judah as by the other Israelites. Indeed, the soul of Israel was perishing. So they're telling you that they started worshiping Molech, Satan, guys, the Bible, the Bel and the dragon, Bel, Molech. And because they stopped worshiping the Creator, Hawa, they stopped worshiping nature, they stopped worshiping what God gave them, the blessings that God gave them. They started worshiping materialistic things that didn't matter. So we lost our way, we lost our kingdoms because we forgot who the Lord was. We forgot who we were because the Lord created us. He made us. Hawa made us into who we are. And if we forget Hawa, He will forget about us. So within 4 years after the appearance of Isaiah, the Corinthians had founded Syracuse as a direct challenge to the iniquitous Carthage and Molech. Nor is it to be imagined that God's house would tolerate the increasing depravity of the Israelites, long since Moses had foretold that judicial blindness would be inflicted upon them for their disobedience to the commands of God. So the agency through which this was accomplished was the great military state of Assyria, or the sons of Ashur, or Ashur's people. Following the conquest of Tiglath-Pileser, his successor Shalmaneser IV, or whatever the fuck that is, not the fourth, began deporting the degenerate Samarians, which of course had the effect of scattering 27,209 to the isolated regions southwest of the Caspian, where they were hence known as the people of Guta, or Guatemala, because the ancient name of Assyria was Gutaim. This stuff in America, the people of Guta, Guatemala, was in America. They're talking about the Kingdom of Israel, Assyria. They all in America, guys. And the book is telling you, the beginning of the book says, before Columbus came. So these people were already here in America before Columbus came, and he's giving you a description of their history and who they were before Columbus came. Through these societies, something of the ancient mysteries were handed down to the initiates of a lower degree, just as in the case of the secret societies of the Egyptian nomes and the American tribe. But we know Egypt's in America, so they're talking about the same tribes, same people. Such was the character of the country with which both India and Assyria were in intimate intercourse when Sargon deported the Israelites to the Trans-Caucasus, which is in America. So the Caucasians, they're dark-skinned people. Thus, it is seen materialism was rapidly supplanting the old spirituality of the Chinese Semitics, or Shemitics, people of Shem, when in 670 BC, Shantung became the leading port for the trade of China with Japan, Polynesia, India, Assyria, Egypt, and Abyssinia. So Japan, the Sea of Chapangu, is in the Caribbean islands. India, or India Superior, is the mainland of America. China and Cathay, or Cathay, is on the mainland of America. Assyria, we know, is Guatemala. Egypt, or Kemet, is in the Mississippi River, right? All around that area. And Abyssinia, I don't know where that's at yet. I'll have to look where that is. Or I'll be seeing you, or I see you. Abyssinia, I'm pretty sure that's new. That's by. Pretty sure that's in New Mexico. Abyssinia. Yeah. Within 15 years, yeah. So I'm telling you where all these places are in America, and I can show you maps. I'll give you a map just to back it up. Within 15 years, there had occurred another event of profound importance in the history of America. So they're telling you these places are in America, in the history of America. In 660 BC, Jimmu Tenno, the first Mikado of Japan, was crowned by the adepts of Yamabushi in the knightly order of the samurai, whose mysteries, of course, trace to Amara, or America, or the Amaru Khans, the immortals, and now a new power arose in the Pacific. Following this, in China occurred a great economic depression, attended by a marked falling off in the supply of the precious metals. Inasmuch as the samurai were in fact the original Freemasons of Japan, we may assume that the guardianship of the dividing line had been trusted to them. At this time, numerous naval expeditions also still were putting out from Egypt on long voyages with South Africa as their alleged destination. The reports that they were visiting this region in the quest of Kaffir corn, which is corn is indigenous to America, were scoffed at by Herodotus, who knew that Kaffir corn and spice were but the names applied to the gold, which now again began to appear in Egypt, or along the Mississippi River. But although it is obvious the Egyptians, Carthaginians, and Phoenicians had located all the gold fields of South Africa, or South America, not South Africa, because corn is indigenous to America. Equally plain, the Carthaginians were now visiting the Azores. Moreover, Necker Island and the Hawaiian archipelago does not fail to suggest the seamen of Necker were going beyond the dividing line in the east. Back to this. America, the background of Columbus being a survey of the revelations of science with respect to the Western Hemisphere and its peoples before its unveiling by Columbus. So, before its unveiling by Columbus. So, they're talking about America first, not talking about anybody else. Here's a newspaper article. Negroes were the real discoverers of America and the first settlers of this continent, the Indians being descendants of this prehistoric Negroid stock, says a noted scientist. So the Negroes, or the Indians, were Negroes. Here's some photos showing some Indians, along with, Moors, Africans, because they're the Africans that they're talking about. Your dictionary and American dictionary of the English language. I'm going to show you the definition of swarthy. Being of dark hue, moderately black, tawny. swarthy, being of dark hue or dusky complexion, tawny. In warm climates, the complexion of men is universally swarthy or black. The Moors, Spaniards, and Italians are more swarthy than the French, Germans, and the English. Their swarthy hosts would darken all our fields. So they're telling you that swarthy means dark-skinned people or black people. And here's another definition of dark skin. She looked frail standing next to her strong and swarthy brother, dark colored. These people here, it says Charles, Duke of St. Albans, is the son of King Charles II, who was made by the King William one of the bedchamber and captain of the band of performers, and sent by that king to France to congratulate the marriage of the Duke of Burgundy. He is a gentleman, very way bon natural, well-bred, doth not love Brussels, and is well affected to the constitution of his country. He is of a black complexion, not too tall as the Duke of Northumberland, yet very like King Charles. And this is Charles Fitzroy, is Duke. You know, the Fitzroys or the Fitzgeralds, the Fitz people come from Ireland, is grandson to King Charles II and son to the heirs of Bennett, Earl of Arlington. He is a very pretty gentleman, hath been abroad in the world, zealous for the constitution of his country, a tall black man about 25 years old. So he's all these people, the son of King Charles II was black, or the grandson was black. This dude was black. I'm going to go back to the two brothers of the Oneida and the Onondaga. So the two brothers they were talking about was Romulus and Remus, the Romans of the West. Romulus and Remus, the legendary founders of Rome. Traditionally, they were the sons of Ray Silvia, daughter of Numitor, king of Alba Longia. So Numitor had been disposed by his younger brother Amulius, who forced Ray to become one of the Vestal Virgin, therefore vowing chastity in order to prevent her from giving birth to the potential claimants to the throne, which is wrong. Nevertheless, Ray bore the twins Romulus and Remus, or Pharez and Zarah, fathered by the war god Mars. Amulus ordered the infants to drown in the Tiber River, but the trough in which they were placed floated down the river and came to rest at the site of the future Rome near the fiscal Ruminialius, a sacred fig tree of historical times. There a she-wolf, a woodpecker, both sacred to Mars, suckled and fed them until they were found by the herdsman Faustrulius. So remember these two brothers of the Oneida. There it is. Long before Columbus dropped anchor in the Western Hemisphere, the natives on the islands and continents developed their own explanations of the origin of the earth and its peoples. These origins myths, like the Judeo-Christian story of creation, containing the biblical stories of Genesis, describe the way in which powers beyond the realm of common understanding created a universe of people, animals, and plants. Unlike the Christian tradition, however, Native Americans created creation myths did not pose a belief in the inherent sinfulness of humans or follow divine grace. Some recognize an inherent tension between the good and evil within human nature, but instead of conflict, they tend to emphasize the transition from chaos to harmony within the natural world and human society. Such an emphasis is found in many of the stories passed down through the generation in many of the different tribes, including the Iroquois, who told the following tales. But note, too, that these stories were part of an oral tradition that means subtle and some said in not so subtle ways have been altered by contact with European cultures before finally being written down for posterity. So we're going to remember the Europeans were Indians, so you can't alter your own people's history. Before this world came to be, there lived in the sky world an ancient chief. In the center of his land grew a beautiful tree, which had 4 white roots stretching to each of the 4 directions, north, south, east, and west. And from that beautiful tree, all good things grew. Then it came to be that the beautiful tree was uprooted, and through that hole it made to the sky world fell the youthful wife of the ancient chief of a handful of seed, which she grabbed from the tree as she fell, clutched from her hand. So remember, they talking about the fig tree that they were born under. You remember that? The two brothers, Romulus and Remus, Iroquois story. See how they're correlating with each other? Because this is the original. Far below, they were only water and water creatures who looked up as they swam. Someone comes, said the duck. We must make room for her. The great turtle swam from his place in the depths. There is room on my back, the great turtle said. But there must be earth where she can stand, said the duck. And so he dove beneath the waters but he could not reach the bottom. I shall bring up earth, the loon said, and he dove too, but he could not reach the bottom. So this sounds like the
So they talk about turtles,
like that.
Turtle Island, Romulus and Remus. Now it goes to the Iroquois. It's an American Indian mythological story. You can say a true story.
Let's get to the two brothers, though. It was not long after she had fallen from the sky world that the earth had been made as a place for her to stand, and the sky woman gave birth to a beautiful daughter. Together they lived in peace upon this world, which rested upon the turtle's back, Turtle Island, until the daughter became a woman. One day she came to her mother and said, "Mother, while I slept in the meadow, I felt a wind sweep over me and heard someone whisper sweet words in my ear. Then it was that the sky woman knew that the west wind had taken her daughter as his wife. Soon the daughter of the sky woman grew heavy with child, and from her stomach the voice of two children could be heard. One of the voices was angry and quarrelsome. 'My brother,' it is said, 'let us tear our way out.'" Talking about Zarah, Perez, Romulus, Remus, guys. "I think I see light through our mother's side." The other voice was loving and gentle. "No, my brother," said the other voice, "we must not do that, for it will cause her death." Before long, the time came for the brothers to be born. The good-minded brother was the first and entered this life in the normal way, but the brother of the evil mind tore his way through his mother's side, and she died when she was born. So the breach, they talk about. I'll get to that in a minute. The sky woman was saddened at her daughter's death. She looked at the children who stood before her. "My grandsons," she said, "your mother has gone before us to the good place where all who lives good lives and shall dwell someday. Let us bury her now and something good may happen." So I'm just going to stop there, but I'm just giving you, Romulus and Remus, the two brothers. Like, he was born under a tree.
Go back to this. It says, "But the through in which they placed flowed down the river and came to the rest of the site of future Rome near the Ficus Ruminalis, a sacred fig tree of historical time." Remember, they were born by a tree. So this is the sacred fig tree of ancient Rome, but it's going to be a big tree. It's going to be huge. It's going to be a giant tree. Remember, the first name had reference to the great Sinai boulder at Oneida Castle in northern New York near the headquarters of the Susquehanna. Did they recognize in the 12 lakes beginning with Anaconda and extending to the Genesee, of which 5 larger ones resembled the finger of a human hand, a natural symbol of the 12 gods of the Olympian pantheon? Whatever the fact, the symbol of the Oneida was the tree, the fig tree. Romulus and Remus, the two brothers, so that the boulder is seen as the pillar of a tree called extended among the Pythians. Salt beds in the region of the Genesee, it was entirely possible to safeguard the red race as a whole. In all probability, it was now that the two brothers, constituting the original Iroquois, the original Romans, the original people of Troy, Dardanus, Zaragoza, all these people like Chalco, all these people, it all lines up back to our history of the Crawleys. All lines back up to who we are. Right now, I was talking about the breach, the two brothers, the line of Perez and Zarah. Remember? The line of Perez and Zarah, the two brothers. Remember? The twins,
So
Romulus
Zarah
and Remus.
was born of Ray, and if you look at Romulus and Remus's mother, her name is Ray, the same person. So you can see the correlations in the story of Zeus, Zarah, the Hebrews, and all that.
Remember, Chalco and Dardanus, founded these places. All these people founded these places. Aeneas, I'm pretty sure he's Roman or Greek. A lot of similarities between the Greek and Romans. They copied their pantheons. They copied all that stuff, but that was idol worship. Like they worship. It was ancestral worship. It wasn't really idol worship. So they were giving honor to their ancestors. They worship Hawa, the creator, the nature. We got the tribes, man. American Indians, man. These are our people. And this look like LeBron and my sister Angie. So LeBron and my sister Angie. That's crazy. Okay. Let's just get over it. So Tatun, Kuzimil, and the Red Hands, the people of the Red Hand, guys. Ixchel was the goddess of fertility and childbirth, women weaving health, medicine, and the moon. Women were expected to make pilgrimages to honor her at least once in their lives, and at other times to send tribute. A pilgrimage to Tatun Katamel had the same city for the Maya as Christians to Jerusalem or Rome, or along the Camino de Santiago de Compostela, or Muslims to Mecca. Remember, they're talking about who? Jerusalem and Rome, guys. People of the Red Hand. Meletius is William the Conqueror's descendants. At the top of the pyramid, up ahead, known as the the tall house, there is a small temple where the oracle spoke to the people. A hollow statue of Ixchel was the focal point of this temple, and a priestess, lightheaded with hallucinogens and purified as a meter, would be installed inside it to channel the goddess. Pilgrims would leave their gifts of food, flowers, and others in thanks for prayers. According to scholars, it is possible they left permanent records of their visit and red handprints on the walls of another house here, which was the home of the ruler of Cozumel. This theory is contested, however, as the handprints are often believed to be those of a god. Red handprints can be found on the walls of a number of Maya sites and are associated with the creator god Itzamna, whose seven-fingered hand were red hot to facilitate healing and actually become associated with doctors. The red handprints are also connected with another deity, the descending god, whose nature and role is debated but was linked to Venus. The same kinds of handprints can be seen on the temple of the frescoes at Tulum, and I once tried to get inside the Akab Zit at Chichen Itza to see the same there. I failed at that one as I was chased out by a iguana, so it is okay. So yeah. And so the people of the Red Hand, guys. People of the Red Hand, the Mayans. We're going to talk about one Afro-Americans reaction to Hitler's exploits. Talk about Hitler breaking his word. Why his mere notice at line, the United States made 500 treaties with the various Indian nations that violated every one, or the tribes of Judah. Recruited armies of plunge-elites from the hills of Georgia, Tennessee, and Kentucky, invaded Florida again and again before Spain finally agreed to sell the peninsula. So Spain, the Hebrews, decided to sell the peninsula until it destroyed the Negro Indian civilization along the Shawnee with the Chakuchi and Apalachicola rivers, which menaced the slave power. Then it broke its word by permitting Negroes there who had been born free to be hunted down like rabbits and taken in chains to Georgia plantations. In my next video, this might not have been my best one, but just giving you guys more information on, what we worshipped, who we studied, the Book of Tefi. I'm going to get into that, and yeah, I tried.